I have been podcasting for 3 years and I wanted to share with you my favorite podcasts, some tips, and also the future of this podcast, the struggles. I wanted to start by explaining how I started this podcast and all what we already have been through. And if you have been here for a long time, you probably know this already. But I imagine, and I am as a listener, someone that has phases with the podcasts that I'm listening to. Maybe you're like this as well. And then this means that you are like probably here for the season of your life. And maybe you're not here since the beginning. So, well, recently I have reached 3,000 followers on YouTube. And I do not take for granted this milestone. And I feel like my podcast being there has a huge impact. Everyone that started to follow me there and the type of consistency that I could achieve on YouTube is because of my podcast. Is because of posting every week and nowadays every 2 weeks. And the podcast itself is a format that also performs well on YouTube. And I want to like to celebrate this. And I ended up even already recording a whole episode like for this, but I thought it would be more interesting to separate so I could do a video celebrating, and it's more about the YouTube journey because it is a journey, and a podcast focusing more in my podcast, even though nowadays both are even more like blended together. So I'm recording this one and I'm excited to share with you and go even in more details because now we're just talking for the people that listen to my podcasts. Well, I have moved abroad, basically. And before that, I don't think I was always listening to so many podcasts, but I always have this urge to learn a lot. I'm very curious. So I guess I was always listening like video essays, tarot readings, the stuff on YouTube, for example. And it was like starting this boom of podcasts after the pandemics. And then after the pandemics, I moved to Germany. If you don't know, I live here in Germany, in Berlin. And then I feel like once I arrived here, I started to send huge audios for family, friends. Something that I already did when I was living in Brasilia because I was living already in another city. And then I was already far from my family. So I used to make like long audios for my friends and family, and people already used to call me like a podcaster. So if I have to answer the question, when did it all started, I would say even there, because it's part of who I am. I love to have deep talks, and I feel like in my family the dynamic is also like this. We would have long talks and express ourselves. And I feel like with my friends as well, like the friends that I have and stay, we are also like sending huge audios and not really talking every week or every month, but we are always relying on each other to share the deepest and longest thoughts and feelings. And I always love this. Like I love to receive a long audio from a friend or a family member, and with time I also loved listening to more and more podcasts, but I was not having like this thought by myself to have a podcast myself until my partner gave this idea for another project that we were working on together. This was his idea. It was to like supposed to be his podcast, but I would also co-host. And we even did this as well. I already co-hosted another podcast, but I eventually started my own podcast before this. Like he gave this idea, and I'm this kind of person. I just do it. I would not think so much about it. Like I was having a process of incubation, thinking about it, getting excited, creating the name, the art, and everything. But I am quite fast, so I just created. And this was like my first podcast ever. Like I called this podcast Eu Acho, which is I think, I guess in Portuguese. It was in Portuguese, and it was kind of a joke with my own name because Acho is with CH, but my name is like my initials are like AXO, and it sounds the same. So for me, it was like such a genius name, and I just did it. It was a very interesting time where I got this microphone here. If you're watching the video, this was like my first microphone, and it's so special to me. Like I somehow felt really unheard or unseen in my life. Like I definitely want attention. I definitely want like people to see me, to hear me. And having a podcast was like something I didn't even knew I needed, but I needed because I listen to myself here. I am watching myself with my YouTube videos, but listening was a whole other level. It was in the same time that I was starting to make music, so sounds are all for me. Like they mean everything. I am very sensible to sound like I am right now listening to me here. I don't know if you can hear this, but this is like from my pants, and I am holding this, and probably you cannot hear this all the time. I'm almost like fidgeting, but I can hear this. It's like relaxing. I like the background sounds. So this is how it all started. With time, I feel like in every project I want to grow, and the silly hobby feeling is not anymore enough. And I also have the demands of the public and the world. The formats will always keep on changing. For example, I don't agree anymore with Spotify. I don't think it's accessible to just have in one platform, so I now have in Apple and also on my YouTube. On my YouTube it makes sense because then I already have a public there and it's monetized. But I did had another YouTube channel for my podcast. I had another Instagram page for my podcast. I did posts. I work with collages. I was super excited in like writing texts and poetry. I feel like I experienced everything, and I had this phase where I was like experimenting even with reading a text, like writing, and then how writing is so important to me as well. So I connected this with my podcast. It was coming from inside instead of reflecting on outside things, for example, a movie or a book. Once this podcast grew, I became so overwhelmed with this feeling that I was being so exposed. And I know people would probably be like, chill, like it's not that big of a deal. Everyone feels like this, or no one even cares. But it felt really strange for me. I was feeling more and more disconnected because it was so exposing. Like it's really vulnerable to talk to myself alone. And then even if I edit out to share this with people, with like after many and many episodes, it felt like the collection of all these episodes is overwhelming because I kind of overshared a little bit in each one of them. So it's a huge oversharing if you take the whole collection. Yeah, and this is content creation in general. This is making art also. This is being human. This is connection. This is whenever you open up. So it teach me so many things. A podcast teach me a language I could practice more. It teach me how to think, to write more, to pay more attention in my day. Because other than vlogging, this is more like I pay attention. I'm reading things. I'm writing more. So whenever I stopped or I didn't make a podcast episode, I really felt bad. I felt even worse. So I had to like balance it out, this pain of feeling overexposed and the pain of not sharing at all and having no connections and letting go this practice that was really important to me, to pay attention and to connect the dots and everything. I feel like at some point I changed as well. The word changed. I started to make also with videos, and I'm always changing. I'm always trying something new. Otherwise it gets boring to come here every week, to always keep this work going for the listener as well, but mostly for myself and my workflow. I'm always changing. I am always changing. And if you're here since this beginning, you know how much we changed. Like, change was the only consistency. And at some point, I did my pauses always when I needed, and I decided to change the whole structure of this podcast. I feel like this happened at the end of the last year, and I changed the name, I changed the art. Like, the art I kind of change often, but now I changed for real the name, the art, and also the title and the language and the niche. So I started to not do just Portuguese episodes, but also English episodes and also German episodes. My channel was more in English, the other podcast I had was in German. So with time, I felt German, I already have this other podcast, so I can focus in Portuguese and English here. And then with time, I was like, if I want this in my YouTube channel, it has to be in the same language. So I started like deleting these other accounts because I'm only one. I cannot manage them all. So deleting TikTok, deleting other accounts, deleting other YouTube channels, deleting everything. And then eventually I realized like some restrictions. They're also nice to create within these rules and this restriction, which would be I'm gonna do just in English and I'm gonna do just within this niche of art, culture, that's it. Because it's already personal, but then it's more about creativity, and this is what I am already talking about mostly for the past years. So I gave myself time and place to experiment, and I could not find my niche until it was really obvious what would be my niche, because this was what I did for 2 years. So I was like, okay, now I can make a change. And then I started to do in English, and also, English is the language of my YouTube channel, and this is a big topic for our final topic in this podcast, which will come. And I would love for you to listen until the end and let me know your feelings and your advices. I feel like I'm really lost in the language topic. I wanted to try, and I tried everything. And now I feel like it's time for some changes again. So I would love for you to listen until the end. What would be like the future of this podcast, and let me know what you think. Next topic is a segment of this podcast where I'm like answering questions. And one of the questions I got from a post that I did on my YouTube is, what is my favorite episode? The thing about podcasting is that once you're doing this for so long, I know that some episodes reach more people, some episodes are more special and resonate more, but honestly, they are truly very unique and at the same time, the same thing. Like, I feel like I talk about the same topics every time, even if the topic is different. I feel like it's all the same. Like, I have been doing this for so long. At times I did this like in a very fast pace, and it was in Portuguese, and I edited this in this platform. Like, was not so many mistakes. That was not the point. It was just audio was easier. Now I feel like I have been through journeys. Sometimes I did color grading and then subtitles, and the episodes have like 1.5 hours, like the last episode. Those take me like ages to do. I wanted this to be just one thing, or to have just this one type of episode. If one episode performed well, I want to do this type of episode like repeatedly. And this is just an ego thing. It's not even sustainable. I have learned this over and over again, and I mostly even cannot even do this. Like, I don't even want, as I told, I like different things. I like novelty. I like to change. So I'm happy whenever there is something well going on. I remember a friend that even wrote me a WhatsApp message once my episode about Ursula Caleguan, I guess, reached like more than 1,000 views, which is huge, and I'm so grateful. And I have some that like reached more than 40,000 or 30,000 as well. And then I have some other ones that has 3 views and 40 and 100. So it kind of depends, and learning this through so many years, I feel like that really doesn't matter anymore. And I love when something is like low performed as well sometimes, because then I don't have so many comments to answer, and so like it's not getting overwhelming with emails as well. Like people really reach out, not just people but like brands, and it's a lot of work. So each episode has a lot of work. I kind of love them all, and I kind of am unhappy with them all. They all could be better. So I feel the more I put the pressure to be like, this is gonna be the best episode, the less I lose the essence of why I started the podcast in the first place, which is this lightfulness of just talking here with you, and how this puts a heavy weight out of my chest and hopefully can bring you some comfort, inspiration, insights, or just be there with you. It's just a noise in the background. Like I am doing my own version of noise for you at the end of the day. Like even if you don't speak my language, even if the topic doesn't suit you, I feel like, yeah, the more I think about the podcast, the less it's about knowing more or making a nice episode or bringing references, and more it could be just about having a voice in the background as well. Like who knows why you're listening this and for which purpose, and why you like to listen this, what is your favorite episode. So I will give this question back to you, and I would love to hear, like, if there is an episode, if you're here for a long time, or in the season that you're here following me, listening to my episodes, what is like one or two that kind of resonated more. And I know there will be like some, because I know how the numbers are, but maybe you liked one that is not that hyped, so you can let me know. I wanted to share now some of my favorite podcasts, at least some that I'm listening right now. First one, and one of my favorite ones right now, is Wild Geese. Like Anna is amazing. She's also an actor. Like she also graduated in acting. If you don't know, I am also like a formal actor. And the way that she is discovering her journey, the way that she's already succeeding, the way that every video is very unique, and they're really like thought through and more philosophical, reflexive, but also about creativity and very like womanhood. I love it. I also like every interview podcast. For example, Fashion and Roses. Once the guest is someone that I like, that I love, obviously. So one in Portuguese that I love so much, and this is the one that I probably listen like every week, is Gostosas Também Choram. Brasileiras que estão aí, vocês sabem. This is like one of my favorite ones, honestly. Every week, like very often, it speaks so directly to me, and this is the one that I am listening maybe since always. There's not like a season. I haven't stopped listening to these episodes. Maybe life gets busier, but I'm always there. I'm always there. And this is something, again, about language, which I wanted to comment at the end of this episode, because I feel like a podcast is something that you would listen, yes, maybe to practice the language, but if it is about the topic itself and the pleasure of the podcast itself, it works better in your mother language. So the one that I'm so committed is this, which is in Portuguese, which is obvious that I would love, and it's easier for me to listen, and I love to listen this. But yeah, that doesn't mean that I also don't listen other ones in many other languages, but you will see that there is like not even many in German in this list, so let's move on. I love also Vibes em Análise, another one in Portuguese. There are two psychoanalysts or psychotherapists. They're talking about culture, and it's lovely. It's very long as well. It's very detailed. I love this. Like I love how they don't rush, and they don't want to create something that is easy to listen. Sometimes they have like 2 hours, they just go on, and then they bring a guest after they talked for 1 hour already. it gets really deep. So, well, at the end of this episode, I wanted to open my heart and I wanted really to let you know some plans or struggles or feelings, thoughts for the future of this podcast, and what might come next, what might not come anymore. And really wanting, like, I want to hear from people what they think. I have been asking people in my family, my friends, my partner, what do they think? I want to know what you think. Like, your opinion is important. And I also want to be able to make a decision at the end of this all that feels right for myself. I have created many changes in this episode that are coming from an ego, as I told before, that are like to please more people. For example, everyone is doing podcasts with video now. I should do also a video. Or I should do in English so more people can understand. And there is also like this ego thing of I want to be understood, or it's not even about this will have more views. It's more about I will be better understood in English, which is crazy. And I feel bad because I live abroad for over 3 years. I am married with a German. I have family and friends that are not Brazilians and they are not even German. So I live in Berlin in this multicultural city. I have been doing a multicultural content and multilingual content even. Like my podcast was a multilingual podcast for months. This was like the description of my podcast. And I have decided to niche down and to create these rules and restrict myself. And I feel like this also worked. I could create freely and was nice to just talk about art, to make my reviews here. And I also feel like I can practice my English. Like I have significantly okay, maybe not so significantly, but I got better, a little better. But I still feel like uncomfortable, and doing this in English feels like having a mask in my face. Feels like too neutral at times or too colonized and less authentic because it's less me. I feel like I want to please people. I want to please the algorithm, please the listener, the audience, blah, blah, blah. And I'm forgetting why I wanted to do this in the first place. And there is a cost to pay. So maybe I will niche and people will not understand me. Maybe the episodes will not reach and grow. Maybe the podcast will be like very, I don't know. I feel like I fear the most this not expansion. It's not even about growing or getting money with it, but it's this ever evolving and changing feeling that I was talking about. I like to change. So if I would now put myself back in a box of doing just audio, or now the episodes are gonna be in Portuguese, I feel this is just another box, maybe, that eventually I would wanna change again. I have given so much thought, and people very close to me that I trust and love are recommending me to do in Portuguese. They're recommending me to change my whole content for Portuguese because it's my most true personality. Is how I am more fun, more intelligent, is how I'm more lightful. And not to say that I'm not true here, and especially here in my podcast where I am chill, I'm just talking with myself. But even though I feel like I could be more lightful. And again, this thought of I could be more is something I hate and something that I'm working in my therapy. I don't have to be more all the time. I don't have to change myself all the time. I could be accepting more of the things how it is. So I get really confused and harsh with myself at times. Like, creating online is such a difficult thing to do, and especially alone, and especially when you create with your own body, thoughts, ideas, voice, image, is really self-centered. I really get confused. It's hard not to have this ego playing with you all the time. So whenever this is going on, I take a break. I take a pause to really think about what is the next step. I am gonna take a pause. I feel like a lot of podcasts that I see nowadays are stopping or ending or taking a break, and I do wanna podcast more. I shall say I don't wanna stop doing this, but right now I am so confused, and this has reached a level of being harsh with myself, and I try to do this on less frequency, like 2 times a month, and this helped already, but at the same time the pressure is now in the quality of the episodes, and it's not the episodes itself, it's about me, the phase of my life that I'm going through. It's now summer, I'm gonna travel, and I have been working so much and I just want a break, honestly. So I maybe get confused and want to change because this is acceptable, but what is less acceptable is to ask what is behind this feeling of wanting to change the name, the language, the colors, the what is behind this feeling is often a burnout. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then my brain's like, okay, so what do you want to do? Because you have to be doing something. And now I'm like, okay, I'm trying to discover these patterns that I have for myself. So I will definitely take a break. And for July, we don't have any episodes. And I am counting on coming back in August. But you never know, because maybe in this break I will discover something else about myself in these episodes and this whole project. Maybe I will start to come back earlier, maybe I will never come back. I really don't know, and I like this idea of being more flexible and soft with myself. But the plan is like this, and I do want to do this more, so I guess in August we're back. But to be back, I also will think about how do I want to come back. Is this just another season so I could have another image and art cover and everything? I love to change the art somehow. I don't feel connected with this name anymore, like the Diary of an Artist. I am thinking about other names, thinking about going back to the name that it was, thinking about changing the language, or even if this is a proposition to do in many languages, to be consistent with it, to be open about it, and to tell people, here, this is a multilingual podcast. And how will I make this not confuse to people that want to listen this? And in order to not be confused, I have to be really clear about it myself. I have to be like, I cannot be confused and I am confused right now. So I will take a break. But if you are here until now listening to me, and if you're here in this podcast, I don't know, for a long time, or maybe you're new here, I don't care. I just would love to hear your opinion. If you would be me, if you would have a podcast, in which language would you do? What do you feel like this space here that we created, that I'm creating for us, is lacking? Any feedback, any suggestion of future topics or formats? Or if you want me to do episodes in another language, like the language that I know are German and Portuguese and English. I am learning French, but I'm like, je peux parler en français, mais je pense que je ne veux pas parler très bien. And I feel like this could be a journey to discover what we want and keep evolving, keep having this connection. A lot of things I feel like we have to change. Yes, it is how the platforms work, how the algorithms work. And I have to keep you, the audience, the customer, satisfied as well. And I want to do this as well. I don't take this for granted. I feel like this podcast has grown and reached a lot of people, and I am so grateful for this as well. The fact that after so many years, I have now the possibility of monetize this all. It's really symbolic, but it's okay. Like, it's already something. Like right now I get €5 a month on my YouTube channel. And yeah, anything that you want to know more, anything that you're craving, what kind of podcast do you like listening, what are your favorite podcasts, and if you would be kind enough to let me know what future do you co-create with me, what kind of vision do you envision for this podcast. Even if you don't speak Portuguese, consider my perspective, my point of view, and if you would be me, what would you do? So yeah, thank you for everyone that is like taking a time now or later, writing comments, letting me know. If you want, you can write me an email, and there you can leave me feedback, suggestions, a list of the episodes that you like, other creators that you like, and your advice for me. What would you do? What would be your next step? This is all what I have for you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. It's such a journey, but I love the space that we are creating. See you in some weeks. It's not gonna be this long, but again, thank you for being here. Enjoy your break, and I will go now. But thank you again, and I appreciate it if you left me a comment, if you want to share with me your advice, suggestions, topics, everything. And bye.